Thank you, Chairman Nadler. Let's just cut through all the Republican arguments today and make things very simple. No one else in America could do what Donald Trump did and get away with it. No American elected official can call up a foreign government official and ask for an investigation of a political opponent. No one sitting on this Judiciary Committee can call up a foreign government official and ask for help in a re-election campaign. If we did that and got caught, we would likely be indicted. Now let's focus on the president's abuse of power in this case, because it's actually worse than the examples I just gave. And I know that I first swore an oath to the Constitution when I joined the United States Air Force on active duty. And the three core values I learned were integrity first, service before self, excellence, and all we do. I'd like to focus on the first two, integrity first and service before self, because it's ingrained in all military members that we cannot mix official duties with personal private gain. So Mr. Goldman, in this case, the $391 million at issue, that wasn't Donald Trump's money, that was U.S. taxpayer funds, is that right?
Yes.
And certainly the president should not use our taxpayer money for his own personal benefit, and especially not to leverage it for his own re-election campaign, isn't that right?
That's correct.
The president's abuse of power is even worse in this case than just using official duties for private gain. It's also just flat out illegal. You cannot solicit foreign assistance for a re-election campaign. That is a violation of Federal Election Campaign Act. Multiple people have gone to prison for violating various sections of that act. A reasonable person could also conclude that the president violated the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, which Congress passed as a response to President Nixon's abuse of power. So I'd like to explore that a little further with you, Mr. Goldman. In this case, Congress, with bipartisan support, had appropriated taxpayer funds for the specific purpose of aiding Ukraine in its war against Russia. Is that right?
Yes.
And not only had that money been appropriated, the money had actually been released to the Department of Defense. Is that right?
They were about to release it, yes.
Okay. And then, suddenly, without explanation, the president demanded that those taxpayer funds be withheld from an ally who desperately needed the aid. Mr. Goldman, did the president notify Congress about his decision to withhold the aid?
No, he did not.
So the Impoundment Control Act was designed to prevent the president from secretly taking congressionally appropriated funds and doing whatever he wants with them. So is it true that in your intelligence report, you found the following in your findings of fact? President Trump ordered the suspension of $391 million in vital military assistance urgently needed by Ukraine, and the president did so despite his obligations under the Impoundment Control Act. Did you find that?
Yes.
All right. So not only did the president abuse his powers for personal gain, and not only was it illegal, his actions also harmed U.S. national security. So it's a fundamental tenet of U.S. national security to push back against Russian aggression. Ukraine's at the tip of the spear, pushing back against Russian aggression. Is it true, Mr. Goldman, that harming the Ukrainian military also harms U.S. national security?
That's what pretty much every witness said.
Last week, Professor Carlin confirmed that it is an impeachable offense to sacrifice the national interest for his own private ends. A slide shows what she said. Mr. Goldman, based on the evidence that you found in your report, is it fair to conclude that the president's actions both